Good morning. Good morning. It is whatever day this is. I guess we're at Thursday. What are we, July 8th already? Like, we are more than halfway through 2021 and coming to you again with your monthly market update, letting you know what's happening in our local market and some national information when it comes to real estate here in 2021, what to expect, what's happening, kind of all of the above. Today, we are going to take a quick look at what has happened in the first half of the year. How does it compare to 2020 and 2019, just from a numbers perspective? What are the average days on the market comparisons? What is the increased value that we're seeing on homes, the appreciation, kind of some rough percentages of appreciation from 2020 to 2021, and looking at national statistics and everything. So some good information coming to you here today. And I want to encourage you, if you've got any questions, please don't hesitate to drop them in the comments below and I will respond. I'll tell you, if I don't know the answer directly, I will work on getting the answer. Good morning, Amy. Good to see you. So if you've got questions about the market or really anything real estate related, please drop it in the comments below. Or if you know somebody, if you've been talking to a friend, coworker, family member who has questions about buying and selling in this market, tag them in this video and hopefully some of the information that is shared today will be helpful. Our market is still a seller's market. And what that means is, for many years after the market crashed, it was a buyer's market. So buyers really dictated the majority of selling terms. And for lack of a better term, sellers were very much at the mercy of buyers, and a buyer's market lasted, over 10 years, or right around 10 years. And then here over the last probably 18 to 24 months, it has shifted to a seller's market, which is very exciting. But what's quite remarkable is it has shifted to a seller's market in a way that in my career, I have never seen. And in even talking to those who are more knowledgeable than me and have even more extensive experience longer term in the market, 30, 40-year market terms, they have all said they have never seen a seller's market like what we're in now. So it is exciting. It's also, while it's exciting, it's stressful for both buyers and sellers in some ways. And that's part of what my team and I do, is we try to help minimize some of that stress. Hey, Miss Judy, good to see you on here. So we can't take away all the stress, but we try to make this crazy market, and whether you're buying or selling, whatever that process is, my team and I try to help make that as smooth and easy, I guess, as we can. Not that there's anything easy about buying and selling. And certainly, while homes go under market very quickly, from the agent perspective, being buyer and seller agent side of it, there's a lot that's happening in the background that's even more time consuming than it's ever been for us in history. At least in my history of real estate, which is working on 18 years. So, I feel like that's kind of a long time. So anyhow, right now what's happening is we're seeing what's kind of being dubbed as like buyer fatigue, because buyers have been competing for months now to get homes, and multiple times they write offers and offers aren't accepted because they're outbid, and it's this whole crazy environment. So I wanted to go through, there's kind of a list of 7 realities of buyer fatigue and kind of talk about that before we get into the market update numbers. The first is that we are at record high prices right now, and that's nationally. So a lot of this information that I'm going through right now is national statistics, but please keep in mind a lot of the national is very applicable in our market. There are some differences, and you'll see, but by and large, we kind of are following trend of what's happening nationally. So right now we've got record high pricing, and I think nationally, the appreciation is about 13% year over year from 2020 to 2021. Now, keep in mind at the beginning of this year, the predictions were that appreciation would be around 5%. And it is right now up to 13% nationally and still climbing. So it's hard to say exactly where that levels out or when that begins to level out, but this is what's happening right now real time. So just quickly to give you some statistics, when I go through the market numbers, we're gonna do some breakdowns on some things, but one of the things in Muskogee and Harris County, when I looked at our average sales price from 2020 to our average sales price for 2021, there's about a 16% home value increase, a 16% value increase, I should say, on pricing. So that's above the national standard right now. But if we switch over to the Alabama side, in Russell and Lee County, that's only about an 8% increase from what the home sale prices closed out at in 2020 versus 2021. We've got about an 8% increase. So we're slightly under the national on that side of the river. So you can see, like, even though we're one big community, there are some differences that will happen between the counties even, which is interesting. So that being said, the next item number 2 in the 7 realities of buyer fatigue is low inventory. We are still very much struggling with low inventory. But one of the things I want to point out is that here over the last month, since we did our market update in June, just a month ago, I ran some quick numbers, and in June, let's see, in Muskogee and Harris County, there were approximately 267 active listings at the time that we did the market update. And currently, as of yesterday afternoon, we had about 344 active listings. So we actually see some increase in inventory. Pending sales, we had it last month when we did the market update, it was about 685 pending sales versus what we've got at our snapshot yesterday afternoon when I ran the updated market numbers. That put us at about 608 pending sales. So we've seen just in a month, and I don't really know what this means yet, we'll have to kind of watch and see, but we've seen active sale or active listings peak up a little bit, still low inventory, and pending sales have ticked down just a bit. So there's a slight leveling of market intensity that's happening right now. Not surprisingly to me, because that is part of kind of the push of inventory that always comes to market during the summer months. So I'm not really surprised by that. They are saying nationally, though, that we do think there's going to be some gradual increase of inventory happening in the last half of the year. And I think this is maybe the start of that. But all indicators are it's still going to be considered a very low inventory time. So let's look at Russell and Lee County as well. When we look at the last month to this month on active listings and pending sales, in June, we had 109 active listings from the East Alabama Board of Realtors at the time that I did that market update. And as of yesterday afternoon, there were about 147 active listings. So again, we've seen a little bit of an uptick in active listings, and then pending sales in June last month was approximately 353. And now we've got about 334. So again, same trend. Pending sales are slightly down. So again, I don't think that's some kind of indicator of some major market shift. It's not all of a sudden going to become a buyer's market, but it is a little bit maybe indicating some leveling out of the market that might be going on right now. So we'll see the coming months, and what happens over the next, probably over the third quarter, will give us a better indication. So we'll be tracking that as well. So looking at item number 3, record high percentage sales over list price. So that has been very interesting, watching how many sales actually sell over the list price these days, which is a very large percentage, and that's happening quite a bit. The item number 4 on buyer fatigue realities is low days on the market. We're at record low days on the market, and I'll go through that in some of my market information here in just a minute. Item number 5, record low mortgage rates. Let me just tell you, I was talking with Dustin Steele at Synovus Mortgage yesterday, and interest rates, I just can't believe they're under 3% right now on conventional. As of yesterday, I haven't checked rates this morning. I don't think they come out till a little bit later. But as of yesterday, conventional was 2.875 and FHA VA was right around 2.5%. That's crazy. Rates are so low right now. It's unbelievable. If you would have asked me, I would have thought we would have seen rates continue to trend slightly above 3, maybe even close to 4 as we went into third quarter of this year. But hey, it just proves that none of us really know for sure what will happen in this crazy market environment. So those are what rates are. And the other thing Dustin told me that I want to share as well is he said that FHA has recently changed their guidelines on how student loan debt is calculated, and they have changed it in a way that is very advantageous to buyers. He said, as a matter of fact, he has a buyer that just last year, just several months back, did not qualify for a mortgage based on debt to income because of how the student loan debt was being calculated. And now, because of this great change that has been made by FHA, this buyer now qualifies. So if you have tried to get a loan in the past and you've had some DTI issues, debt to income issues with getting approved because of student loan debt, call Dustin at Synovus Mortgage because he can walk you through that. There may be some very significant and positive changes that have just happened with FHA that will now put you in the seat to be able to compete in this buyer's market, or excuse me, this seller's market, buying a home and take advantage of some extremely low mortgage interest rates right now. So on to item number 6 of the 7 buyer fatigue realities. Half the houses, and this is going back, this is some national information going back to April, half the houses that went on the market nationally went under contract in less than a week. So again, it just shows how competitive things are and how tiring it can be for buyers. And then number 7, 19% of homes sold in April had the appraisals come in below the contract price, which creates a whole nother scenario within the negotiation and handling of home sales. And what's happening and what I'm experiencing as one of the top listing agents in this market, if not the top listing agent, ding, little plug for myself there. What I'm experiencing is the exact same thing. We are having homes come in over contract, or the contracts are coming in over list price. We're securing good, strong contracts, but then we're seeing appraisals not hitting those numbers. So often what is very enticing in this market to a seller is a buyer who is willing to pay a certain amount over the appraised value in the event that the appraisal comes in less than the contract purchase price. So there are a ton of scenarios, but that is a negotiating tactic that's working really well for buyers right now in this market, because we are experiencing many situations where even though contracts are coming in at high prices, the homes aren't quite appraising for those prices. And of course, that's always disappointing for a seller when that happens. And a seller's not always obligated to sell their home for less than the contract purchase price. So having some verbiage in a contract where maybe a buyer is willing to pay above the appraised value can definitely give you an advantage as a buyer in a competing market. Now, there are pros and cons to that. You can get a lot of different opinions on whether or not that's smart. I would tell you right now, with the home price appreciations that we've seen, if you would have in January potentially offered 5% in Muskogee and Harris County in January, if you would have offered 5% over the appraised value to the seller, you still have equity in your home today based on how the appreciation has continued. Again, at some point that's going to level out, but right now it's not really necessarily putting a buyer in harm's way to be willing to pay a little bit over the appraised value, because as we see the appreciation has happened through the first half of this year, those who paid over appraised value earlier this year are really now still in a great equity position potentially with the value of their home versus what they paid for it. So things to think about. I mean, there's a lot of stuff you have to think about, a lot of different strategies. And that's part of what my team and I do, is help you come up with the strategy, whether you're a buyer or a seller, that's going to work best for you and your circumstances. And, based on what the risks are within each negotiation. So those are just some quick tips and kind of looking at what those seller buyer fatigue realities are, things to think about. And our team is constantly working on how to overcome those issues and deal with those situations. So let's get on to our first half of the year, first 2 quarters, rounding out. What was our market like? What happened? How did it compare to 2020 and 2019? So let's start with Muskogee and Harris County. Get my notes here. I know a lot, but I can't. My brain is aging and I can't remember every number, so I do keep notes when I do these market updates to make sure I'm giving you the accurate details. Okay, in Muskogee and Harris County for the first 6 months, January through June, we closed out 1,785 homes. In 2020, it was 1,439 homes. And this is interesting. Watch this. In 2019, we closed 1,566 homes. So and this is all the same time frame, January through June of each of those years. These are how the numbers laid out. So what's interesting to me is in 2020, you can see there was a shift in closed sales. We actually were down in closed sales from 2019, but I promise you there were 2 primary factors that played into that, and neither of them had anything to do with negative market, real estate market situations. The 2 primary factors were during first and second quarter last year, we were dealing with the pandemic and everything being locked down. So there was some restriction and a lot of stuff happening, a lot of uncertainty, and that impacted some of our market numbers. And the other thing was extremely low inventory rates, or inventory. So as you see in 2019, we had 1,566 closed sales in the first half of the year. 2020, we had 1,439, but we also had significantly less homes on the market during that time as well. And then in 2021, we are at 1,785 closed sales for the first half of the year, which is about a 24% increase over last year. So that's phenomenal. Let's look at days on the market. In 2021, our average days on the market, and this is from the time it's listed to the time it goes under contract. Now, when we talk about the East Alabama side, that system calculates a little differently. It calculates from time it was listed to time that it closed. So those average days as the system calculates are a little bit longer. But in Muskogee and Harris County for 2021 so far, first half of the year, average days on the market is 39. I would tell you from our team perspective, the majority of our listings are on the market less than a week. I mean, that's just the reality of where we are right now. But there are a lot of statistics that play into this average market number and a lot of different types of properties. So this is everything that closed out in the first half of the year, all price points. The average days on market was 39 days. Now, if you look at 2020 for that same time frame, average days was 71 on the market. And in 2019, average days was 79 days on the market. So you can see from 2019 to 2020 to 2021, there's a significant drop coming into this year. We've got average home prices. In 2021, first half of the year, Muskogee and Harris County, our average sold price is about $235,000. In 2020, for that same time frame, the average sales price was about $202,000. And in 2019, the average sales price for the first half of the year was about $184,000. So again, we're seeing those value increases. And remember, from 2020 to 2021, our average increase in sales price was about 16% for Muskogee and Harris County. So that's phenomenal. And let's see, we've got our list to sold price. So that's what did the house list for? What did it sell for? In 2021, the list to sold price percentage was about 99.61. So most things are selling on average at list price. We have many that are selling over list price. But then there are some that, again, various types of properties where there's different types of negotiations that happen. In 2020, it was about 97.4%. And in 2019, it was about 97.3%. So we definitely have a higher ratio of list to sold price in a positive way right now in our market, which basically just means there's much less negotiation of price in a negative way that is happening. Most of our price negotiation is in a positive way going over list price. All right, let's look at Russell and Lee County and see what's happening based on the East Alabama Board of Realtors data. It closed sales for the first half of 2021. We have about 717 as of yesterday afternoon. In 2020, we had about 688. And in 2019, we had about 764. Again, same scenario as Muskogee and Harris County. Last year's inventory was low. For the first half of the year, we were dealing with the pandemic shutdown and quarantines and all of that stuff. So you can see we have really bounced back from that. And our increase in sales from last year to this year, closed sales, is about 4.5% versus Muskogee and Harris County, increase in sales was about 24%. So a lot of that is still tied to the fact that on the Alabama side, we have extremely low inventory still ongoing. Looking at average days on the market in Russell and Lee County for the first half of the year, average days on the market. Remember, in the East Alabama Board of Realtors system, it calculates from the time we list it until the time it closes versus from the time it's listed to the time that it actually goes under contract, the way the Columbus Board of Realtors calculates it for us. So average days on the market, first half of the year, 2021, 43 days, 2020, 80 days, and 2019, 115 days. Those are some very significant changes in market, days on the market. So from the time that it was listed to the time that it closed, most things are averaging about 43 days on the Alabama side. So something to keep in mind when you are a seller putting your home on the market is timing of how quickly you're going to be able to be out of your house. As a seller, you do have a little negotiating power right now on time frame or post-occupancy agreements. That we've seen a lot more of that in the market here lately. Again, more things that we discuss with our clients based on individual circumstances and needs. Looking at the average sales price for 2021, first half of the year, it has been about $203,752 to be exact. In 2020, the average sales price for the first half of the year was about $188,500, and in 2019, it was about $172,168. So again, you've seen that appreciation in home value and home sale price that's been going on in the Lee County and Russell County market. Based on the East Alabama Board of Realtors data, that's an increase of about 8%. So again, it's slightly below the national average, but still a great increase for the area. And again, I think that a lot of that just has to do with some very low inventory levels on that side. List to sale price right now in 2021, it's looking at about 100% list to sell. So what we're seeing is pretty much everything on average is selling for at least the list price, if not more. In 2020, we were at about 99.96%, so still pretty close on that side. Homes were holding their pricing pretty strong in Lee and Russell County. And in 2019, it was about 99.9%. So it's been pretty consistent over the last 3 years. Sellers haven't had to make nearly as big a negotiations as they have in years past. So even when I say years past, I mean years prior to 2019. So it's been holding pretty strong on that side. So that gives you the latest rundown in what's been happening in our local real estate market here in the first half of the year. It's been exciting to see, and it's definitely has its moments of being very tiresome. There's nothing easy about the types of contracts from a listing perspective that we negotiate these days, because they're very competitive and there's so much more that buyers are adding to contracts these days to look more attractive to a seller. So it has definitely changed the nature of negotiation and the time that is spent analyzing each individual contract that comes in the multiple contract situation. And then for buyer agents, it's equally as tiresome, because it's getting in and out of houses quickly, writing, oftentimes for a client, multiple offers before they finally lock in on one, and trying to be as creative as possible in how those offers are written on behalf of a client. So while things are moving quickly, don't misunderstand that for moving easily, and understand that having an agent team on your side that really, truly understands negotiations, like in a whole nother level, is very important. I'm telling you, it can make or break whether or not, as a seller, you maximize your potential for the sale of the home. And for a buyer, it can make or break your ability to actually get a home. So all that to say, things are going well. They are staying busy, staying crazy. We love it. It's what we do. So I kind of thrive in this environment. I do have to take like a little bit of extra time in the evenings, maybe an extra hour of sleep to be prepared for the next day, because once my feet hit the ground, it is pretty much nonstop these days. So that being said, again, remember, if you've got any friends, coworkers, family members, anyone you know that might benefit from some of this information or might have some questions, tag them below. If you've got questions, drop some comments below and I'll work on getting those answered. And a quick plug here, if you haven't seen it, for my plant-loving friends, I am very much into houseplants. That has evolved. There's a little bit of a story with that, but that has evolved since my mom's passing 3 years ago in 2018. Kind of a funny story on how I inadvertently became a plant parent, and then how that has blossomed, so to speak, into a new hobby that I'm very much enjoying. So I have started a private Facebook group, and it's called My Plant Life. And it is a fun group meant for all levels of plant knowledge. My plant knowledge is very minimal, and I started the group because I want to learn more about plants and I want to be a better plant mom. So the group is really meant to be a fun, interactive environment where you can share your plant story. You can post pictures of your plants, because those of us who love plants, we post pictures of our plants like we post pictures of children and dogs and all of that. So it's a fun little environment where we can do that, and we can share tips and all of that. It's a judgment-free zone. So trust me, I have sent plenty of plants over the last 3 years to their grave, and with each one, I have learned something new. So there's no judgment in your plant status of knowledge or expertise. It's really just meant to be a place where you can learn and have fun, and Elaine Gamache is going to work with me on, we're trying to come up with some fun local plant events. So join in the group, send a request, or I can send you an invite if you want to join it. We'd love to have you, and hoping that it's going to continue to grow and evolve and be a fun place to share and just take joy in one of God's creations, plants. All right. right, you guys have a great rest of the month, and I will be back to you with our next market update in August, looking at what has happened in July. So it'll be interesting for me to be able to report back to you on that. And in the meantime, if there's anything I can do, you just let me know. I hope you guys have a great end of the week, a fantastic weekend, and we will see you again with This Month in Housing next month in August. You guys have a good one. See ya.